Shalom, everybody. This is Barry Segal, greeting all of you and sending shalom and good health to all of you from our complex here at Vision for Israel in the city of Modi'in at the Millennium Center. As you know, things are moving at a fast pace right now throughout the world and the globe and the nations, and there is a shaking going on, incredibly so, faster than any of us could have expected. But nonetheless, we need to retain the anchor, the hope in our hearts towards Yeshua, the Messiah. I'd like to open by reading to all of you something that came to me during the tsunami many years ago, where over 200,000 lives were lost during that tsunami, which especially hit around Indonesia and India and Thailand and all throughout that basin there. And here's what it says in Scripture in Isaiah chapter 24, which I often say is like a mirror image of what it also says in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 24 concerning the end times. It says these words, "Behold, the Lord makes the earth empty and makes it waste, distorts its surface and scatters abroad its inhabitants, and it shall be as with the people, so with the priest. As with the servant, so with his master. As with the maid, so with her mistress. And as with the buyer, so with the seller. As with the lender, so with the borrower. As with the creditor, so with the debtor. The land shall be entirely emptied and utterly plundered, for the Lord has spoken this word." And I think the comments we can make on those first couple of verses is that today there are more refugees, over 50 million refugees, moving somewhere upon the face of this earth and are being shifted out of their homes due to civil war, due to plagues, due to this now coronavirus, and due to all sorts of other circumstances that are failing in this world today. But it affects everybody. It affects the priest, and it affects the person who attends the church or the congregation or the synagogue. Synagogues, as you know, are closing their doors because of this virus. The Roman Catholic Church has shut down its churches throughout Italy, as well as elsewhere in the world. And public meetings and gatherings of any large size amongst over 10 people in many of the Western countries are now being shut down. And it's affecting banks. It's affecting those of us who go to the bank. It's affecting those who buy at the grocery store and those who need to feed their families at home. So it's affecting everybody everywhere. It goes, the earth mourns and fades away. Verse 4. The world languishes and fades away. The haughty people of the earth, or the proud, the arrogance of the earth, languish. The earth is also defiled under its inhabitants because they have transgressed the laws. And the word for laws here in Hebrew is Torot, which is the plural for Torah, and changed the ordinance, which in Hebrew is Chok, which means the law. Therefore the curse has devoured the earth, and those who dwell in it are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men are left. So we are living in unprecedented times. And people, brothers and sisters, this isn't just something you read in a book or in some end-time prophetic book. We are living in the end of the end times. And the sooner we realize that, then we can also understand that when crisis comes, it's too late to prepare. So it's important for all of us to be prepared for these times, which are increasing with the birth pangs upon the earth. Let me just share a little bit about what's happening on in Israel as of this day. Israelis overall are being encouraged not to leave their homes at all. "Do not leave your home," said the Health Minister General Moshe Bar Simon Tov. "Only go to work or to purchase essential items such as groceries, medicines, or the like. Visiting parks, beaches, pools, libraries, and museums and social interactions are now all prohibited." Doesn't that sound like what we were reading in Isaiah chapter 24? But it also reminds me of something that we read in the book of Exodus. And I thought this was astounding when it says in Exodus chapter 12, verse 21, it says, "Then Moses called for all the elders of Israel and said to them, 'Pick out and take lambs for yourselves according to your families and kill the Passover lamb. And you shall take a bunch of hyssop, dip it in the blood that is in the basin, and strike the lintel and the 2 doorposts with the blood that is in the basin, and none of you shall go out of the door of his house until morning.'" In other words, they were in what we call bidud. They were in isolation. They were not allowed to leave their homes, and the angel of death came by their doors looking for the blood of the lamb to pass over that house and not take their firstborn. I think the parallels are just so uncanny, the implications, the reflections of what happened as the children of Israel were being delivered to leave Egypt, to leave this world as we know it, and yet to be saved and spared because of the blood of the Lamb, which was symbolized through the doorposts and the blood that was sprinkled there. "For the Lord will pass through to strike the Egyptians, and when he sees the blood on the lintel and on the 2 doorposts, the Lord will pass over the door and not allow the destroyer to come to your houses to strike you." So I think, brethren, it's so important that we and our families come to the house of faith and receive the gift of salvation in our hearts for such a time as this. That is important, and it is important for all of us to pray for our family members at this time. Back at what's going on and how that affects those of us here. Here at Vision for Israel in the Joseph Storehouse, we have plans to reach hundreds of families, if not thousands of families, with financial debit cards, which now, by restrictions, we are going to make those deliveries to their homes, and we are going to knock on the doors or ring the doorbell or call them to come to the door, pick up their plastic bag with their financial debit card in order for them to be able to go out to buy food and essential groceries and life's basic necessities. This is what we are involved in now, and what we're gearing up to do over the next 30 to 60 days, as fast and as quick and as intensive and as powerful as we can by the Lord's leading and in the power of his might. We already have hundreds that we need to reach in a very short spate of time. As we know, there will be tens of thousands of more Israelis that will go into unemployment. So your financial support, your help, your donations, and also your prayers make a difference in the lives of hundreds of thousands of people in this nation. And in turn, we also want to lift up you who live in the nations to stay safe, to be in good health, and to prosper even in the midst of this. So whatever the devil meant for evil, God will turn for good in your lives. Listen, this isn't the first time there's been a global pandemic. As we look back between 1918 and 1920, 50 million people all over the world died of Spanish influenza. The Black Death, or the bubonic plague, which was known also as the Terrible Death, decimated between 50 to 75 million people or more in Eurasia, in waves over 10 centuries, and it was caused by infected black rats which fleas fed upon before they landed on humans. And now we have, in our day and age now, something called the Wuhan coronavirus. It's not the first or even the worst pandemic in the world that's ever been known. Our dear friends at the emergency medical services are setting tents up throughout the country to test people for the coronavirus. Major hospitals in Israel are getting prepared for the outcome of this, as we've been watching and viewing other nations such as Italy, France, Spain, Germany, and not to mention China facing this crisis, and now the United States as well. And we also are aware that the number one center for the coronavirus in the Middle East is in Iran. It's taking out some of its jihadist rulers and leaders. But, you know, in these days and times, all of us are susceptible. So we want to be covered by the blood of Yeshua and the blood of the Lamb as we read about the children of Israel during the Exodus period before they left Egypt, and the Red Sea waters were parted and they came into the Promised Land. So we have to walk into God's promises. We need to be believing in the God, our Father, who loves us so much and loves all of you. We're so thankful for your prayers. We're so thankful for you standing with us.